Myself as a child, I'm out of Arkansas. Uh, Cotton fields. I heard Mr. Hackley said, well, some people want to go back to the cotton field. I'm going to tell you from experience, anybody been in a cotton field, they don't want to go back. See, they don't want to go back. Manual labor from sun up to sundown. You, Bro Rabbit molasses can, gallon bucket. That's what your lunch was in. Some crackers, cheese, bologna. And I was maybe 3 years old. I was a water boy, so I had to take water throughout the field. They would take the straw hat off and wave it and say, water boy, you should have been here and halfway home. Water boy. So I'd take off running with the water bucket. And my dad, he was kind of the overseer from out of Pine City, Arkansas. There was a truck that came by in the morning for a day. He would get the people together, 20 or 30 people or so, and it would go to the peanut field, the potato field, the cotton field, and before you pick it, you have to chop it. You got to grow it. You got to get the weeds around it. And I was too little to chop it because I'd chop the cotton down. But see, you'd get a whipping if you did that. And that's something that they've taken out of the home now. That's a discipline of your child. See, as a young child, I learned, you know, my dad and my mom, what they told me. I have little grandnieces and nephews now. You know, they are sass to parents, or they tell them to do something. They act just like they don't hear. If my mother told me something, or my dad, you know, all they had to do was tell me one time. Now, if I took my eyes and walled them up like this, or dropped my head, or walked away and looked back, they said, boy, come on here, come here. See, I couldn't do none of that because I know what was going to happen. See, now, I knew they loved me because they were basically grooming me for adulthood, what was ahead. See, so if they had no control over me, and I knew they would say, well, boy, you go stand in the corner, or time out. Well, shoot, as a kid, man, I could stand in the corner all day long. I had to worry and look around, and that don't hurt. What? But see, I knew what kind of punishment I was going to get. And what a child do now, if the mother tell them something, or basically the father, or they'll run to the mother. The mother usually is a little more lenient, but not my mother, because there was ironing cords and them willow switches. And, you know, they braid them, 2 and 3, strip the leaves off, see? And you would think, oh, that's cruel to a child. No, it wasn't. That was love. That really was what it was. But at the time, it wasn't love to me. It was pain. But it got the message across, because to this day, I haven't been to jail. See, haven't been to jail. See, and in my restaurant that I have, police, I haven't had to call the police on nobody. I try to treat everybody with respect and what have you. But basically what I'm basically saying is education. You say, how do you change the slave mentality? It's education. Nobody knows what you have up here. See, they do not know. And I would say education, and it starts down here as a child. It starts in the home, just like about everyone said, especially the young man here. And it doesn't start in school. It starts at home. See, as a child, I knew, you know, when I went to town, you know, I got pulled off the sidewalk. It wasn't in a sidewalk, it was just a dirt path, you know. And I would look at my mother. Matter of fact, she pulled me, you know, we'd go to town to get RC Cola and some ice cream. We put peanuts in RC Colas and shake them up, see, and drink them, see. Now, you can say pudding, stage planks, and butter rolls. In the north, they don't know what that is. You talk to somebody down south, they don't. That's good eating, you know, that's dessert. But anyhow, she pulled me off this path, and I was about 4, and my ice cream fell in the dirt. And I looked down, and I, you know, and to let this white man walk by. And I looked at her, and she said, well, Bob, Mama buy you some more ice cream, you know. And as a child, I'm thinking, why did she pull me like that, you know? But as everybody knew, you know, they had the right of way, you know. And that was with everything, basically, you know. And came to Fort Wayne, late 40s. Went to Washington, lived down on Calhoun Street, 236 South Calhoun. We call it the River down there, just below the jail, you know. 412, that was the name of the jail on Calhoun Street. See, I lived down there, caught the bus, you know, over to Washington. Mr. Haley was the principal back then in the late 40s. They later have a school out here off of State Street called J. Wilbur Haley School, but he was the principal over at Washington at the time. Anyway, as a child, I went over there. It was a mixed school, first mixed school I had went to. You know, the community I come from was all black. And the word nigger, I never had heard that word down south because I lived in a black community, you know. And when I went to town called Holly Grove, I was such a small child that I never, you know, was in any, my parents now, you know, I had me by the hand and what have you, so I never experienced that word. So that's how I got introduced to the segregation part. As far as the name calling of, you know, the different races, you know. So went to Washington. We moved over off of Hayden Street in Ohio, then transferred over to Harmer, and that's when I met quite a few of the fellows that became standout athletes at Central, which was John Kelso, George Milton, Eddie Russell, Darnell Hollins, you know, all of those guys, the Barneses, and you know, we participated in sports, went to Central. Turned out pretty good as an athlete, wound up being a distance runner because I couldn't outrun any of those guys. They had more foot speeds than I did, you know. Turned out to be a fairly good, decent runner, you know. Me and Henry King, call him Dada, you know, I was a couple of years ahead of him, you know. Broke a couple of records up there. Chuck Kurtz, Bob Kurtz, they was two white fellows, two brothers that had the half mile and the mile record. You know, I broke those. A year later, Henry King, which was a black guy, a buddy of mine, we worked together, he come along and broke my record. So that was good, you know. But the insight of don't be a quitter was instilled in me as a child, really. From working from sun up to sundown, you know, you couldn't complain, you know, a back hurting or this or that, you know. That was instilled in me at a young age, the work ethics. And that's what the problem is today. These kids, they want everything fast, you know. When you're born as a child, you can't come out walking and running. You have, is a saying that my parents said, you gotta crawl before you walk, you know. So basically, anything run fast or anything you get fast is what my dad would always tell me. Boy, anything come fast don't last. That's what he would tell me. You take a guy running 100 or 220, at the end of that 100 or that 200 meters, he gonna be puffing. But, you know, he'll beat me in 100, but if I start out at my gate, and if we gonna run that quarter mile or that half mile, when he's tired, he's in front of me, you know. But if we're gonna run a mile, you know, chances are at the end of that quarter mile or 300 or 600 yards, he's been over, he's puffing. See, I'm gonna come along and go right past him. That's with anything. As a child, you learn this.